Remember the cologne High Karate?
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
I have 3 sizes of Samaritans in front of me.
That's a tiny Hellboy for that small one.
Yes. I believe that's one. I don't know what scales they are. That's 1-to-1 scale, though, even though it looks like it's 2-to-1 scale.
I mean, how big are Ron Perlman's hands?
Ron Perlman, well...
Does he wear prosthetic hands in those movies?
No, he doesn't wear prosthetic hands. His hands just have makeup on. He has a prosthetic arm piece.
Has the arm piece.
Right. I guess that is prosthetic. But Ron Perlman's only like 6'1" or 6'2". He's not a giant.
He seems larger than life.
I know. I met him at Comic-Con last year. He was
there for Pacific Rim, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. And like many actors, he's got a giant head.
Right.
Right. I mean, he fills a lot of space.
What Entourage says, you need the big head.
Yes.
Right. Vince had the head.
But
it's film actors have big heads and TV actors have small heads, right?
I don't know.
I always thought it was one or the other.
Oh, I didn't know that there was I know that, yeah, at any rate.
Yeah.
Ron Perlman is not a giant. And that's the size. His hand is not much bigger than mine, I don't think.
He makes that gun look good.
He does, man. And this is one of the real ones from the movie. It's hard rubber.
Oh, this is an actual film-used prop.
That is a film-used stunt pistol.
There's not that many of those in this. I mean, you have a handful of film-used things.
Yes. No, that's the only. That's yeah.
I'm not man enough to hold this in the up way, much less the.
My son was challenging me just to hold it out for a while.
Yeah, just straight out.
That's not going to happen. Maybe this one will.
No, next one down.
Okay. It's a tiny cricket.
I want to find one that's in between. I want every size of Samaritan there could be.
My arm's starting to shake pretty good now.
Well, with 3D printing.
See, what you don't see is that there's somebody off camera that took it, and I'm just shaking my hand just a little bit.
Let's bring it back.
Oh,
you said you had a joke to tell us.
I do. So I participated in a Top Chef style competition this weekend for my kids' school.
So quick fire or main challenge?
It was all of that, right? So there was a quick fire where we had 20 minutes to make a salad with ingredients that were right in front of us. Then there was a pre-planned amuse-bouche we had to deliver in 20 minutes from ingredients that the chefs had brought.
Okay.
Then there was a quiz. And then there was the main entree in which the chefs had an hour to prepare a cooked entree with chicken.
Ooh.
It was really fun. Last year we did it in my house.
Okay.
And it was crazy.
Where we did the omelet video.
Where we did the omelet video, we had 8 people cooking.
Wow.
4 chefs and 4 sous chefs, plus a sit-down dinner for 25 people.
Oh my God.
In the house. And it worked, but it was like, boy, it's a big thing to do that in your own house.
That's the kind of thing that makes you a little crazy beforehand.
Yes. So this year we did it at the school.
Okay.
And I was not one of the chefs this year. I was one of the sous chefs. And it was really so much fun. The chefs are all teachers at the school. The sous chefs positions were auctioned off. And then taster positions were auctioned off so people could sit there and score the meals. And at the end of 4 different rounds, the scores were in the 800s. And the difference between the 4 teams was only like 1 or 2%.
Wow.
It was very close. The food quality was incredibly high. And it's just, we were cooking from like 3 p.m. until 10:30 p.m.
So is this a positive experience, or was it
Super
Top
positive.
Chef style where everybody's screaming at each other all the time?
No.
Okay,
It's for a school. So the trick is the goal is to have fun, and the goal was totally achieved.
And you use heated plates.
No, paper plates.
Okay.
Paper plates.
You know, on Top Chef, temperature is the judges are told to ignore temperature because the food will never get to them at the right heat.
Right.
With all the camera coverage and everything.
That's brutal. Like that is such a key aspect
I
of
know.
the eating.
But what was the joke?
Yeah. Oh, there was a joke.
So there was a quiz there was a quiz, and one of the questions was it's an interesting question. You might not know it. I didn't. What is the oldest recipe? What is the product that you can make with the oldest recorded recipe in history? What is the food product?
Probably beer, right?
Cooked
Beer. He's right.
Yeah.
beer.
The oldest
The Egyptians
recipe
made
ever
beer
discovered
4,000 years
is
ago.
beer.
Huh.
Right?
Wait, Egyptians had cooked food though.
But they didn't have recipe. They just said chuck the food in the fire for a little bit, then get it out before it lights up.
Right. I'm giving away the joke. Hold on. Earlier, the question was
The aristocrats.
the aristocrats. Yes. Earlier, the second question was, what is the literal translation of pasta puttanesca?
Oh, I'm not going to say that because it's a family podcast.
Prostitutes pasta.
Yeah.
Prostitutes. I didn't know that, right?
I don't know what that means.
So that what?
Is that supposed to be
It's
something?
it's a food for prostitutes.
It's like the common. It's like the commoner's pasta.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So then the question came, what's the
Chud
oldest recipe in history? And I said, pasta puttanesca.
Nice.
See, that's good. That's good.
I
See
thought
how
that
it works.
was
Yeah,
good.
it works out. It all comes together. You got good callback in there.
Yeah, woohoo.
Did you get a big cheer from that?
I
I'm
did
sure
get
the
I
Latin
did get
teacher
a
liked
good
that.
laugh from
Yeah.
the family.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. The kids were there, I hope.
Nope.
Oh,
No
okay,
kids.
that's probably best
No
when
kids.
I think about the tenor of the jokes. That's funny.
I think so too.
Yeah. Well done.
So back to the Samaritan. I will tell you. That this is screen used, and when I look at it, I think I've actually handled the Hero one. Guillermo owns it, and it's machined out of aluminum by the guys at Weta Workshop.
God, it's got to weigh a ton too.
It's pretty close to this weight.
Okay.
It might even be a tad lighter.
Wait, but this is the stunt one, so this is the one you can throw around and smack someone around.
Yeah,
with.
I wouldn't
but it's
throw
still
that
pretty
around.
tough.
Smack someone around, but you can drop it and you won't dent a floor and you won't break the gun.
It still looks pretty great.
You'd still smash your
yeah,
foot.
man, you'd never believe this was rubber, but I still would like to machine one out of aluminum.
That is a tough machine job.
It's a lot of work.
It's
This
not
is
one
probably
piece, right? It's multiple pieces.
It's multiple pieces. There's a piece down here. There's the trigger. There's the mechanism. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on this one.
What caliber bullet is it's like bigger than a 50 cal,
Yeah,
right?
we can measure it. I've got some other bullets over there, but it's a lot.
Large.
That's something for the folks at home.
Yes. Let me Google that
Comments.
for you. So
We were going to talk about,
cameras,
well,
specifically
quad rotor, octa rotor,
flying cameras. Flying
Yeah.
cameras.
Let's say call them aerial jib replacements.
Oh,
well,
the
they're technically
AGB.
quad rotors.
Well, we were playing quad rotors, but
you were flying quad rotors. The fact is actually the field has exploded. I mean, I bought
Multi-rotors.
one of the first Parrot drones,
Oh yeah, we
have two of those.
and I bought the
Parrot
second one too.
I have those.
and those are fine.
They're fun.
They're fine and they're fun.
You can fly them
but
indoors.
You can't really do anything with the video because it's really shitty.
yes.
That's a problem.
They're good for terrorizing the dog, though.
They're certainly good for terrorizing the dog. But we on Mythbusters are always seeking to get the most production value we can. And we only have a 3-person camera crew. Scott Sorensen, our A camera, Willie Nail, our second camera and high-speed operator, and Duncan Clark, our second camera and high-speed operator. And all three of these guys are just super, super dedicated. They like eat, sleep, and breathe cameras. And it's a really amazing team. They get a lot. Imagine that it's everything.
3
we do.
people seems like not a lot of people for the amount of, and not just for the amount, but for the one-off nature of a lot of the stuff that you guys are shooting. The fact that you get one chance to blow up the cement truck, right?
Dude, I mean, and the simple fact is the number of times they get the shot when there was only one chance to get it.
It's all of them, I assume, right?
I mean, it's pretty much, I think twice we've missed key high-speed shots.
it's amazing.
it's
10 years.
200 episodes.
Yeah,
200
it's
plus.
pretty amazing. And Duncan, his father's actually a cameraman. I can't remember his father's name, but his father is a IMAX cameraman and has been for many years.
Wow,
yeah,
that's heavy duty.
heavy duty. So Duncan's legacy and Duncan's particular bailiwick is quad rotors, and then now he's actually purchased a 5-foot diameter octo rotor that has I think all told it's 17 pounds when it's loaded with a camera, but it can handle a 5D Mark III.
Right. Yeah.
I think you could even put an FS700 on it if you dared.
So
man,
what
the
And he
insurance for
flies
that.
it. He actually flies it.
Oh, first person?
He uses video and transmitter,
Yeah.
and it's totally good enough for 1,000 feet.
Did he buy something off the shelf, or did he put it together himself?
He put it together himself from multiple components. So
Right.
he bought the gimbal rig for the camera, which is a stabilizing gimbal rig, which
yes.
so this is all by way of talking about the Phantom.
Yes, the DJI Phantom. So we have a mutual friend now. On Tested, we've been testing quad rotors. DJI is a Chinese company that makes a consumer-friendly quad rotor / drone. It's called the Phantom. They also make like the high end multi-rotor, the big ones.
I think what they do as a company, like the main thing that they've done is gimbal mounts for like news helicopters, though, right?
Oh, really?
Isn't that?
I don't know if
I'm
that's
pretty sure.
exactly.
Well, because you know that speaking of the gimbal mounts, this is something that people might not be realizing is going through some massive technological overhauls right now to the most awesome effect, which is picture a camera on a platform with 3 axes, each axis controlled by a stepper motor that knows when that camera is upright and keeps it upright no matter what. So it's effectively a steady cam. And you can buy a rig for a GoPro that's like $200.
$200 for a 2-axis gimbal.
For a 2-axis gimbal, and it's like $300 for a 3-axis gimbal. But they make these all the way up to professional rigs. There's a thing called a Movi, M-O with a line, V-I.
We saw it at NAB 2 years ago.
Well, so that was a $15,000 unit. Now there's a $5,000 unit.
Yep.
And really, within a year, it's going to be $1,200.
And then some dude will post a thing on Instructables that tells you how to make
and
your
you
own.
can literally, basically, it almost eliminates the need for a Steadicam, because with this thing you can run down the street up and down, and the up and down is the only thing you'll see. Everything else will remain perfectly stable on a very, very tight vibrational metric. I mean, when Duncan loads up his octocopter, you can't see any camera shake at all.
Right, and that's talking about 3-axis stabilization. Translation movement, vertical movement is still there. It's only a matter of time when you get that stabilized.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be steady even if you're walking down a very slight incline. It'll be on that one plane. So when we were testing this Phantom, which is the consumer line, it's a $1,300 quad rotor, and it has a 1080p camera that's equivalent of a GoPro 2. We were wondering, what you use and when you evaluate production cameras for Mythbusters, what's important and for the camera person to consider.
Well, so on Mythbusters, because Mythbusters is broadcast in HD, we have a contractual requirement to have a certain amount of footage be in broadcast quality HD.
So that means 1080p and
Yes, but it means that everything we use falls into that category except for the GoPros.
Oh, okay.
The GoPros are 1080p, but they're not quite broadcast quality. So we have to limit in the edit sometimes the number of GoPro shots we have.
That's
And I
so funny.
assume you guys probably have an exception. Like you probably have an unusual contract, because I bet most people aren't allowed to use GoPros. It's just because of the stuff that you do.
I have no idea what is, and frankly, I might be getting the actual terms wrong. I just know that Discovery requires our production company to deliver a certain percentage of footage being in the fullest broadcast
quality.
HD.
That's really funny because movies have no such requirement. If a director wants to film a movie, I saw this movie, The Raid 2, over the weekend.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie, but the director shot it with red Epics, red Scarlets, and then also GoPros, and you couldn't tell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so what we've done this season that we started filming in January is we've replaced most of the GoPros with Blackmagics.
This Pocket Cinema Cam.
The Pocket Cinema Cam, we have 3 or 4 of them in some really bulletproof housings that are just covered everywhere with 1/4-20 and 3/8-16 tapped holes. They're fantastic cameras from a broadcast quality standpoint. They're not great in low light, and their audio is terrible, but they're beautiful. Plus, they take all our different lenses.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So we have a lens package that all works with those guys.
Yeah, they're a Micro Four Thirds camera mount. Blackmagic had a Cinema Cam from 2 years ago, and this is the pocket version, $1,000, and you can shoot in ProRes or RAW, basically.
So it's basically 3 times the price of the high-end GoPro 3, but in a real camera with, again, bad
Well,
audio.
and the fact is that one of the things we're doing this season that you'll start to see next year is we're filming some. I want to say this in the broadest way possible so as not to giving anything away, but there's certain things we're doing in a more cinematic style. And the Blackmagics with the real, what do you call it, prime glass on it, a nice 85-1.2 gives us that real cinematic look. And that's where the Blackmagic exceeds almost any other camera we could use, except for, DSLRs, which frankly we have used a few times on the show, but it's a real pain in the ass from a editing chain standpoint.
Yes,
the
'cause
Blackmagic is actually the easiest camera for our editing chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it outputs editor ready for file formats.
So Duke's. Duncan, everyone on our team has a nickname. So our cameraman Scott Sorensen is Saza. Duncan Clark is Duke or Dookie. I told him
gonna
I
ask
can't
why.
believe I know it's just because it's Dunk, Duke, or Dookie, and
Really
I'm
like
like,
Screen
I
Day.
can't believe you let Dookie be your nickname. And he's like, it happens. And then
I like Green Day a lot.
Willie Nail, who's we just call him Willie because Willie's like totally cool. He hates it when I call him a hipster, but he's a total hipster.
Does he have novelty facial hair?
He has novelty facial hair, and there's some cuts in the new season where you'll actually see Willie operating, and if you do, he often gives a little point to the camera because he's so awesome.
Nice. That's smooth.
It's pretty good.
I'm always No, I won't tell that joke. It's a great show.
So Duncan's
So
the
anyway,
guy.
so Black Magics are
Yes.
totally what Duncan flies on the octocopter.
Okay.
oh.
He used to have a little plane. We lost that one in Utah in the Monument Valley.
Oh,
He was
Crash.
flying it down the river that we were on.
yeah.
Can you talk
For the
us
duct tape
through-
boat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you've been doing this for 10 years and have seen camera equipment that your guys have shot with for a decade.
Yeah.
You've seen the evolution of that for production
Yeah.
and the change to HD.
Were you? Yeah, you
What
started
was-
SD, right?
We started SD.
What was
and
that progression?
We started with, we've always used as our A cameras, the Sony shoulder cameras. Right now it's the 700.
Okay.
And, there's just ways in which they're very expensive cameras. I mean, the lenses alone are start at like 15 grand. But, when people say, "Oh yeah, you could shoot a movie with this thing," the fact is that if left to their own devices, even though these cameras are heavy and expensive, cameramen prefer them because the cameraman can zoom and iris and focus all as fast as the camera is built for that. It is
Right.
built to be able to do all those things at once as fast as humanly possible.
For when we go, sometimes we'll get demos for cameras from different vendors, and they'll say, "Look, we have the smoothest auto zoom you've ever seen." I was like, "They're never going to use it. This is something that no one is ever going to use,
Right.
Because I've never seen a cameraman that doesn't just rank the ring around,
Because zooming isn't something you're interested in doing in
Right.
Daco style.
No, you want it.
It
It's
is
crazy. You
You're
want it
just
there, or not.
crashing in
Yeah.
to make sure you've got the shot.
In the 80s, it was a fun trick for directors to use, and they overused it then, but that was it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, and also in the 50s when the first zoom lenses
yes,
came out on home film cameras. We used these Sonys. God, what were those called? It was like the first 3-chip Sony.
Oh,
3cc, not the Canons?
No.
The XL1?
Not the
No,
XL1?
it wasn't the XL ones
it was
at all.
the Sony equivalent of the XL1.
There was
though.
the Sony equivalent of the XL1, a 3-chip Sony, and we had like 5 of those.
Yeah.
And everything was viewed on the little Sony clamshell
Oh, right. I remember
recording
those.
deck.
Oh, yeah.
Which had this wonderful feature that if you brought the metadata onto the screen to see things and you didn't remove it, it recorded
Burned it
on
in.
the fucking
Yeah.
tape.
So I'll tell you a secret about those little clamshell recorders.
What's that?
They're one of the only things that exist still that you can still get that will take the weird video output format that the NES, the original Nintendo, and the Super Nintendo, because they only did every other line. So if you put something that's a modern capture device and hook it up to that, it's going to look at this. I have no fucking idea what to do with this.
Wow.
But you can pipe it through one of those old Sony clamshells and it fixes it.
What's really also funny about those Sony clamshells is they're still really expensive.
Yeah, you
Go buy them on eBay. They start at $400
Yeah, oh, yeah.
bucks.
And if you
when
want
they
one
were
that's
new,
good-
they were like $1,600-$1,800 bucks.
yeah.
They were super expensive.
That stuff has been like, yeah. Anyway,
So
from that-
but over so that was where we shot we shot the pilots on 3 of those Sonys, and that was just moving them around
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Then
did you have a high speed then or no?
we did have high speed.
Okay.
It was an early high speed. It took 45 minutes to literally between 20 and 45 minutes to save a high speed shot.
For what, like 500 frames a second or something?
Yeah,
probably.
it was brutal. Waiting on high speed was like the joke. Waiting on high speed, that was the constant refrain.
Your eyebrows grew back faster than the high speed came in.
So much faster. So over the years, Sony's cameras are they're so robust. We've burnt them. We've dipped them in water. They still work. It's really been one of our main go-to brands. We still use the HC3s because their audio is so excellent.
Okay.
And we still use it frequently when we have to record stuff from inside a car while Jamie and I are driving. The sound guy, Matty, can't be in the back seat for every one of those. So he'll throw Bluetooth audio that goes from our microphone right into the HC3. So the editors have super high quality audio track of whatever we're saying inside the car.
So you guys don't. Oh, and he'll have that just sitting in the back seat on the floor. Or
Exactly.
something.
Syncing it up.
Yeah. Actually, the little Bluetooth thing he uses, the little dongle, it literally straps right to the top of the Sony in the,
okay.
I think in the microphone mount or that utility mount that they call it.
So then the
But
rest.
the GoPro was mind blowing when it first came out.
Yeah,
we
what
bought,
were the,
we
what
bought
were
like
the technologies in those 10 years where like the camera guy ran, we got this thing now, we got to try it. Before the GoPro, did you guys experiment with anything else?
there wasn't many. I mean, we got a better high speed camera at one point, but then somewhere, and I really can't remember the timeline. The Phantom was a big expense. We bought it new, and it was well over $100,000.
This is the Phantom high-speed camera.
That was
by
the Phantom
VisionTech.
high-speed camera. The Phantom Flex, I can't remember.
It was probably the first one that you could do review on the camera and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, with the
Had a
eyepiece.
viewfinder.
Yeah, the viewfinder. Well, we
adding
had one
viewfinders to
before that
high-speed
without
cameras.
a viewfinder,
Yeah.
and it was a nightmare. And actually, Scott literally, like at one point, I remember somebody taping a clamshell to the top of the high-speed camera op so Saz could wear it on his shoulder and actually follow stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it was total kludge.
Yeah, well, like adding viewfinders to high-speed cameras was a big deal when that happened.
It was a significant improvement in our ability to cover stuff, because before that, I mean, we even had like the cameraman looking through a cardboard tube, like literally parallax, right, to try and follow something that was blowing up while moving through the.
Well, and that's how like that Sherlock Holmes movie that famously used the Phantom high-speed cameras to do the dirty
the fight
style
scenes?
boxing. Yeah.
Yes, which the slow-mo guys, Gavin Free was a camera operator on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
why
Oh,
it's-
that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why expertise. Anyway,
So we got to play with one of the brand new Phantoms recently. We shot some shots at 73,000 frames per second.
Okay, so
Which even using the highest end hard drive they have bolted to the top took something like 25 minutes to download that shot.
73,000 frames a second is going to be two thousandths the speed or something like that. 20 thousandths the speed.
Yes. Right, I see the-
Could you do tempered glass? What's the fastest thing you do?
Well, we were shooting some guns with this stuff.
Okay.
And we're filming some guns shooting.
Oh, so you wanted bullets coming out of the barrels.
And the stuff we saw in it was really heart-stoppingly beautiful.
And this
can't
is
wait.
that frame rate at a broadcast quality resolution.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So yeah, and this is something that's interesting to note about the pro level high speed cameras is they'll say we can shoot up to 100,000 frames per second.
Yeah.
But the critical data that you want to know is what's the highest frame rate you can shoot full frame broadcast quality, and on the Phantom we own, I think it's like 7,000.
Yeah, that's really good.
No, it is really good.
Yeah, I mean, we tested that at Agritronic, and to get 720p out of that, it was like
700.
700 frames
And
a
so
second,
what the camera does when you want to go higher frame rate than 7,000 is it chops the frame to save some pixels. So the point of which, yes, you can shoot 100,000 frames per second, but at that point you're shooting this little tiny square in the middle of your
postage stamp.
Yeah.
It's web video in 1997.
It is exact. It's pixel vision.
Yeah,
It's
South
academic
Park.
purposes.
So the GoPros were that Phantom was a big uptick. The GoPros were, and I think we bought one, and then as soon as we used it and the editors saw it, we bought two more, and then that next season we made a deal with GoPro and we got like 16, and then the Hero 2 came out, and the Hero 3. I think the Hero 2 was the year we got like 16 GoPros, and then the Hero 3s. Again, we use a mix of Hero 2s and 3s. We've broken and destroyed many.
I mean, the neat thing about
They
them,
survive so
yeah,
much.
and they're $300. So
Right.
like that's a ton of money if you're going snowboarding and that's your only camera.
But it's a lot
when
less
you're
than
on-
destroying a Sony HC3 for 1,500.
Right.
Yeah.
So and the neat thing about it is even when the camera gets destroyed, usually the SD card inside will be fine. So you can still get, Have you destroyed any cards? over the years?
We have corrupted a few cards. I know that they've had trouble with that, and that's always hard. That's
that's
As long as
gotta
the
be
car
sad.
doesn't run out of space.
I don't want to talk about it, Norm.
Looks like we're still good. We're good this week.
I laughed. I made the tribbles.
Thank-
I made the little tribble cry.
That's the problem with tribbles, Adam.
Trouble.
trouble.
Oh, my bad.
But the latest thing that has been really exciting has been the Black Magics, and Duncan's octocopter.
So before, for aerial footage, did you guys have to rent helicopters?
We've rented helicopters for certain shoots, like the second rocket car episode. We rented a helicopter with an operator, and that camera guy, man, you talk to him, he filmed everything in Hollywood, and the guy can drive his helicopter.
While shooting?
No.
Oh.
But if your cameraman's hanging out the window and you say, I want to go around this scene counterclockwise, he can keep the door pointed at the scene while flying complicated
really
maneuvers.
hard to do.
No, it's mind-blowing how good this guy was.
Wow, it's like muscle
I wish I
memory.
could remember his name. Oh, he was so brilliant. He's got a credit in the second rocket car episode of Mythbusters. We've rented helicopters. And I think during Duct Tape Bridge, we had some guys with a actual helicopter, remote control helicopter rig with a camera on it, and they couldn't fly in anything over 5 mile per hour wind. And that was a pain in the end. They spent a whole day. And look, to their credit, it's hard to start a business. They were they're doing a freebie for us. We were paying their expenses. And after a whole day of shooting, we had one usable shot. Duncan's copter with all that auto stabilization that it does, because that's the
magic.
The magic is that chips have gotten small enough, computers have gotten small enough, processing power has gotten fast enough where the copter and
Accelerometers, gyroscopes, GPS.
can know what it's doing. And the GPS is the Phantom's really remarkable thing, because it does what you pushed on the landing gear.
You can drag
Pull
it
on it.
And it goes back to where you were. But more than that, when it loses
reception, if it loses the you can turn off the transmitter when it's 1,000 feet away, and then 800, 700 meters away, and it will come back. Well, so it will hover 20 meters.
It comes back to where it knows you are.
Yeah.
That's freaking cool.
The amazing thing about that, though, is that, when we posted that video, when we posted the article, people immediately came out and said, well, the hobbyists, the guys who have been doing this for 5 years now and have been building their own, like Duncan, I assume, were like, look, this is nothing. This is 2 years old. You can go out and you can put on a pair of goggles. You can fly 60 kilometers away. You can come back and get first person video the whole way.
Right.
So like this is
hipster enthusiast.
It's really funny watching Duncan fly the copter, because he does it with these video goggles.
Does he lean?
He's got this beautiful transmitter that transmits really clear video from really far away. And usually, because when we're using the helicopter, we're in wide open spaces, which are ideal for that kind of transmission range. But he sits there with these black goggles on, and he's moving his head, and I'm like, Ray Charles, how's the shot going?
So there are in the hobbyist community for multi-rotors and flying by video. Their transmitters, they don't use digital transmitters. They use like security camera transmitters, which is all analog, all radio signals.
900 megahertz, a lot of it, right?
Yeah, and they buy cameras for close for security footage, which you can mount anywhere.
Right.
And the transmitters are real small and the range is real good. But that means you could have multiple receivers because this is a radio signal.
Right.
And so there are competitions and events where you'll see a row of people on lawn chairs, and they all have the goggles, and they're all watching one person do stunts and fly, and they're seeing all the same thing, and they're all at the same time moving their head and going, ooh, that was a cool stunt.
The other thing that's happening that's really cool about this multi-rotor camera platform stuff is that the parts, Duncan didn't buy, his first quad rotor was an off-the-shelf kit. The second was that kit with a bunch of higher end add-ons, carbon fiber, anodized aluminum, stuff made super lightweight. This third one is almost entirely Frankenstein by him from kit parts from all over the world. But I just was going to say is that because of that, you end up with these standardizations that people are using 1-inch carbon fiber tubing for the long arms and these anodized aluminum clamps that the scale of production has increased to a certain degree where you can buy these Tinker Toy parts for really low prices and do some beautiful constructions.
Well, the thing that's interesting to me is it reminds me a lot of not the first wave of PC building in the 80s, but the second wave, post Tom's Hardware, where as people realized that there was a market for people who wanted to, instead of going to Dell or Gateway, or I guess Dell and Gateway were kind of it back then, and build a PC off the shelf, they'd go instead to little screwdriver shops or mail order places and say, okay, I want to get this motherboard and this video card and this hard drive and this, and get exactly the computer I want. And because this has kind of grown up from the base, and people are buying the same parts to keep prices down, it seems like a lot of that same thing is happening with the quad rotors or multi-rotor aircraft.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of people who fly them are living in the middle of the country where there's a lot of open space.
Yeah.
Not a lot in the cities. A lot of people in Hawaii, for example. There's this great photo of this guy. Our friend Eric from DJI shared it with us. A guy who was a photographer on his kayak, and he had a Phantom. Phantom 1, not even the Phantom, no remote viewing or anything. And he thought something was near him, so he launched it up, aimed the camera down, and took a photo, and there's a whale. And you could see
It's a gray whale like 20 feet away that he couldn't see.
And he's in the photo in the kayak. And,
Oh my gosh.
And the Phantom's taking this great photo of a whale.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, I mean, the
It's
interesting...
very exciting.
Oh, it's amazing. And as with any new technology, there's a great potential for evil and great potential for good, right? The reaction as we've flown it around has been really interesting. We got a real mix of people who are very interested in it. And you guys may not see this because you I assume you're off in the desert and stuff.
Yeah.
But like if we go to a park and launch it from a park and fly around for a little bit, usually a couple people come over and ask questions and are like, what is this? What does it do? How much does it cost? Where can I get it? Got it. But then some people are super suspicious immediately.
Really?
Like, what are you spying on me? Is that Google Glass?
I think I haven't had anyone be legitimately worried.
I have had a lot of bad reactions from people who I know personally, who you also know personally.
Really?
Yes.
We'll talk about this after the podcast.
Yeah.
Definitely people have made the jokes.
That's premium content, but the only members are Will and Norm.
Yeah, exactly. Norm and I go in the other room. Adam stays out here.
We should do an article on Duncan's octocopter.
I would love to.
Absolutely.
Next time you guys are going to use it, give us a shout and we'll come out.
I totally will.
If we can, we will.
He's even used it indoors.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we were filming some stuff down
5 feet across.
What's that?
It's 5 feet across.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
He's really good. He's gotten to be a really good pilot. And it's not just teaching yourself piloting. It's also teaching yourself camera work. So in a film, right, there's like... every time you're filming something, you have to think about the fact that, how do I say this? In the beginning, you get a camera and you take a picture and you think that represents the thing you're taking a picture of, but it doesn't necessarily. And the photographer learns that every picture is a story and that you're composing to tell a story to your brain about this thing, either to limit what you can see or increase what you see. And then when you're filming something that's moving, specifically a doco-style show like ours, scripted reality is the category, your shots have to tell a story. And that's been a learning curve for Duncan, right? I mean, it's an important thing that every cameraman has to learn is, what is the story I'm telling of this? I'm not just shooting a building from above. Am I zooming out from the door? Are we circling the building? If we are, then we need one type of circle, not a compound circle, because the audience doesn't know what to do with that kind of shot, right? So it ends up being like working with the editors to know, here's the kind of thing we want to get. And, now we're getting this beautiful footage. But it's like the new technology. You not only need to learn how to pilot it and also to pilot and take pictures, but take pictures that you can use in the edit as the final piece.
Well, and I know a lot of times when people use these kind of rotors or even jibs, like traditional jibs, there'll be one person operating the jib. There's another person operating the camera at the end of the jib. So they have a whole and with the quad rotor, you don't necessarily have that.
You don't necessarily have that, but it might be a good idea to be able to do that.
Yeah, maybe.
Have a separate operator as well as a flyer, so that because when he's flying it, he is literally, I am panning and tilting the camera at the same time as moving the quad rotor.
Does he do the one with the 4 sticks, or does he have
He does have 4
slave
sticks.
to his head?
No, what's that?
Does he slave the camera to his head?
No,
movement?
he's got the sticks on a transmitter, and there are things he's planning to also do, like add some. He's been talking about adding some extensions to the transmitter to make it a little more. I mean, the fact is, you can do radical things with these tiny movements of your hand, and in film they often add extenders to the arms so that it's less radical. You have more of an ability to gently make movements.
It's like puppetry.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I guess that'll do it for us today.
I think that was a productive talk.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think we did
smarter than when we started.
We all learned something. We had a good time. We laughed. We cried. You told a joke.
We talked about guns.
Yeah, exactly. We'll, as always, if you want to support the show, rate us on iTunes, like us on YouTube.
Rate us highly.
You can give us negative ratings. We accept negative feedback too.
It's true. We do.
We delete all those, but and we'll be back next Tuesday with another edition of Still Untitled. See you guys later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.